Noam Chomsky's Necessary Illusions, Thought Control in Democratic Societies, 1989, is a critical examination of how democratic societies, particularly the United States, use media and other institutions to manipulate public opinion and maintain control over the population. Chomsky argues that in democratic societies, where the use of overt force is limited, control is exercised through the shaping of ideas, beliefs, and perceptions, a process he calls manufacturing consent. In Necessary Illusions, Chomsky builds upon themes explored in his earlier works, such as manufacturing consent, but with a focus on the ideological mechanisms that operate in democratic societies. He contends that the media and other cultural institutions serve as instruments of propaganda, subtly shaping the public's understanding of the world to align with the interests of powerful elites. The title of the book refers to the necessary illusions that the public must be fed to maintain social order and ensure the dominance of elite interests. The book is structured around a series of lectures and essays, where Chomsky explores the ways in which democratic societies use thought control to suppress dissent, marginalize alternative perspectives, and create a passive, obedient citizenry. He draws on a wide range of examples, from U.S. foreign policy to domestic issues, to illustrate how these mechanisms operate in practice. A central argument in Necessary Illusions is that the propaganda model, previously outlined in Manufacturing Consent, is highly effective in democratic societies because it operates under the guise of freedom and openness. Chomsky argues that while democratic societies promote the idea of free speech and a free press, in reality, these freedoms are often limited by the structural constraints imposed by corporate ownership, advertising, and government influence. Chomsky contends that the media in democratic societies is controlled by a small number of large corporations, which have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo. These corporations, he argues, use their influence to shape the content of the news and other media in ways that serve their interests and those of the broader elite. This control is exercised not through direct censorship, but through more subtle forms of influence, such as the selection of topics, framing of issues, and exclusion of dissenting voices. The result, according to Chomsky, is a media landscape that presents a narrow range of viewpoints and excludes or marginalizes perspectives that challenge the dominant power structures. This creates the illusion of a free and open debate while ensuring that the public remains largely unaware of the true nature of the political and economic system in which they live. Chomsky argues that in democratic societies, consent is manufactured through a combination of indoctrination and marginalization. He suggests that the educational system, media, and other cultural institutions play a key role in shaping the public's understanding of the world and reinforcing the dominant ideology. One of the key concepts in the book is the idea of necessary illusions, or the myths and beliefs that are promoted by the media and other institutions to maintain social control. These illusions include the belief in the benevolence of the state, the idea that the media is free and independent, and the notion that the existing social and economic order is just and natural. Chomsky argues that these illusions are necessary because they prevent the public from questioning the legitimacy of the system and seeking alternative forms of social organization. By promoting these illusions, the media and other institutions help to create a passive and compliant citizenry that accepts the status quo without question. Chomsky also explores the role of intellectuals and the media in maintaining the necessary illusions. He argues that intellectuals often serve as gatekeepers who help to reinforce the dominant ideology and marginalize dissenting perspectives. This is achieved through a variety of means, including the selective use of evidence, the framing of issues in ways that support the dominant narrative, and the exclusion of voices that challenge the status quo. Chomsky is particularly critical of what he calls the liberal intelligentsia, whom he accuses of supporting and legitimizing the existing power structures while claiming to be independent or critical. He argues that these intellectuals often serve as apologists for the state and corporate power, using their influence to shape public opinion in ways that support the interests of the elite. The media, according to Chomsky, plays a crucial role in this process by selecting and framing the news in ways that reinforce the necessary illusions. He suggests that the media's reliance on official sources, its focus on sensationalism and trivia, and its exclusion of dissenting voices all serve to create a narrow and distorted view of the world that supports the interests of the powerful. Throughout Necessary Illusions, Chomsky provides numerous examples of how the media and other institutions manufacture consent and maintain the necessary illusions. These examples cover a wide range of issues, including U.S. foreign policy, domestic politics, and economic inequality. One of the key case studies in the book is the U.S. government's involvement in Central America during the 1980s, particularly in Nicaragua and El Salvador. Chomsky argues that the media's coverage of these conflicts was heavily biased in favor of U.S. government policy, portraying the U.S. backed governments as democratic and legitimate, while demonizing the revolutionary movements as violent and illegitimate. He shows how the media selectively reported on human rights abuses, downplaying or ignoring atrocities committed by U.S.-backed forces, while highlighting those committed by the opposition. Another example Chomsky discusses is the coverage of the U.S. invasion of Grenada in 1983. He argues that the media played a crucial role in shaping public opinion to support the invasion by portraying it as a necessary and justified action to protect American citizens and restore democracy. Chomsky shows how the media uncritically accepted the U.S. government's narrative, ignoring evidence that contradicted the official story and marginalizing voices that questioned the legitimacy of the invasion. Chomsky also examines the domestic media's coverage of economic issues, particularly the way in which economic policies that benefit the wealthy and powerful are presented as necessary and inevitable, while alternatives that could benefit the broader population are marginalized or dismissed. He argues that the media's focus on markets, growth, and profits, to the exclusion of issues like poverty, inequality, and worker rights, serves to reinforce the existing economic order and maintain the necessary illusions. A significant part of Necessary Illusions is devoted to critiquing the concept of democracy as it is practiced in capitalist societies. Chomsky argues that true democracy is incompatible with capitalism, because capitalism concentrates power and wealth in the hands of a small elite, who then use that power to control the political system and shape public opinion. Chomsky is particularly critical of the idea that the United States is a beacon of democracy and freedom. He argues that U.S. democracy is largely a facade, maintained through the manipulation of public opinion and the marginalization of dissent. He suggests that the real power in the United States lies with the corporate elite, who use their wealth and influence to control the political system and ensure that it serves their interests. This critique extends to the broader concept of capitalism, which Chomsky sees as inherently undemocratic and unjust. He argues that capitalism creates vast inequalities of wealth and power, which in turn undermine the democratic process. In Chomsky's view, a truly democratic society would require a radically different economic system, one that is based on equality, solidarity, and the collective control of resources. Necessary Illusions is a powerful critique of the ways in which democratic societies use thought control to maintain social order and protect the interests of the elite. Chomsky's analysis challenges the conventional view of democracy as a system of free and open debate, revealing how the media and other institutions are used to shape public opinion and manufacture consent. The book is a call to action for those who seek to challenge the existing power structures and create a more just and democratic society. Chomsky argues that this requires a critical examination of the ways in which information is produced and disseminated, as well as a commitment to building alternative institutions that can provide a more accurate and diverse range of perspectives. Necessary Illusions remains a relevant and influential work, particularly in an era where media consolidation and the influence of corporate power continue to shape public discourse. Chomsky's insights into the mechanisms of thought control in democratic societies offer a valuable framework for understanding the challenges of creating a truly democratic and informed public.